and thank you for all the work that you're doing, knocking on doors and talking to people, because we know this is a very, very historic moment for our country. The decision that people make is going to affect people, their jobs, their rights, their opportunities, really what this country is like for the future. It is a very important decision, but many people have yet to make up their mind. And I think that's not surprising when you hear all the figures that are tossed backwards and forwards, and when you see the airways filled up with Tory politicians all slugging it out. Michael Gove versus David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Ian Duncan Smith, and really what I think is important for us to say is that Labour, which is the party of equality, is the party that built and support the National Health Service, Labour the party for opportunities for everybody, for fairness, that Labour wants us to stay in the European Union. I think it's really important for us to say that. I know there's a lot of support here for the Labour Party in the West Midlands, and I think that people are entitled to know that whatever the Tories are doing, falling out amongst ourselves, we think for Labour values and for what Labour wants to achieve and has fought for, that it's right that we stay in the European Union. And I think that we have to say the good things that the European Union has done for this country. I think that because we're in the European Union, we've been able to get people from abroad to invest in our industries, and that has helped create jobs. So that's important. I think that because we're in the European Union, we've been able to sell what we make, what we manufacture, the services we provide. We've been able to sell them all around Europe, and that has created jobs. And because we're in the European Union, we have had rights for people at work, which the European Union guarantees, so that no Conservative government has been able to cut them back and take them away. The European Union has been a strong friend to people at work. It has made our government give people paid holiday. It has made the government give women maternity leave and maternity pay. These things are called directives, and governments by and large don't like directives, but these have been good directives which have stood shoulder to shoulder with people at work. So the European Union has helped us create jobs, and here in the West Midlands, hundreds of thousands of jobs in manufacturing, in tourism, in food and farming, in science and technology. Hundreds and thousands of jobs are connected in with our membership of the European Union, and so many rights for those people at work. So that's the positive side of what I think we should be saying. And then there's the negative side. And sometimes people have said, oh, you mustn't be criticising the people who want us to leave the European Union, they say, because that is project fear. Well, I am not going to be bullied out of saying that I am fearful about what would happen if we left the European Union. I am worried about those jobs. I am worried about rights at work. You know, we fought for those rights at work, for maternity leave, for paternity leave, for rights for part-time workers. We don't want to have to fight to defend them from some future Tory government thinking it's a brilliant idea to start cutting them back. We want to have even more rights, not be defending the rights we've already got. And a big issue of concern for people is the question of immigration. And I think it's important that we have a few facts out there as well as all of our views, which we're entitled to have. And one of the facts that a lot of people, I think, don't realise is that more immigration comes from outside of the European Union to this country than comes from within the European Union. And I'm sure that you realise that most people don't know that. So last year, 186,000 people came from outside the European Union compared to 184,000 that came from within the European Union. So the government's suggestion that they would keep immigration to tens of thousands if only we were outside of the European Union. Well, actually, they haven't done that for the immigration which is from outside the European Union already. And the second point is people concerns about the National Health Service. Well, if there is queues in accident and emergency, that is not the fault of the EU or the fault of migrants. That is the fault of the Conservative government, and it's their responsibility, and nobody should blame migrants or blame the EU for the fact that the Tories are not doing what they should be on the health service. And the truth is, you are more likely to find somebody from Spain or Portugal or Ireland standing at your hospital bedside as a nurse than you are likely to find them taking up a hospital bed. And people have been concerned as well about the housing shortage, and that is completely understandable, and that is again the responsibility of the government. They shouldn't be blaming migrants for their failure on the government on the housing shortage. So you can see it's all too easy for those people who want to leave Europe, who are Tories connected in with the Tories and the Tory government, who want to then blame migrants for their own failure. And they also criticise us being in the EU for the squeeze there's been on living standards. But actually, research by the London School of Economics has looked at the relationship between living standards and migration. And what it has showed is that actually the thing that has repressed living standards and made people having to struggle with their standard of living was the global financial crisis. That is what has caused the problem with living standards. So I think that it would be really reckless for us to, at a time when we're trying to come out of the global financial crisis, to actually go out of the EU. And I think it's all very well for people like Boris Johnson or Michael Gove to say, well, yes, it would be a risk for jobs, but it's a risk worth taking. And I think that person on the television was right when they said it's like a First World War general urging everybody to get out of the trenches and walk into the cannon fire without any idea what would happen. So I think I'm going to end with bearing in mind we've got till Tuesday to get people to register to vote. And we know that there is many people who are not registered to vote. And we know that this is a very, very important decision for people to make for our country, for jobs, for opportunities, for fairness, for rights at work, for labour values. I'm going to end up with a quote from Muhammad Ali, rest in peace, and he said, "Don't count the days, make every day count." And that's what we've got to do before the European referendum. Thank you.